Away from my ride here. This is the fourth live stream this morning. Heading to the airport again on this reserved ride. Still snowing. Anticipating a great ride, but open to the possibilities. I may jump out in a moment here, just in case you're wondering why I jump out. It's because I like to grab the door for my rider, and especially if they have luggage, then I'll load that up as well. And on days like today when it's snowing and icy, I'd just rather assist them, especially if they're women, to make sure they don't slip on the ice or something like that. Not because they're not competent, it's just part of that service. I'm just wondering why I don't do that for men. I mean, I'll offer as well too, if they're like elderly, but it just seems culturally more appropriate to extend that assistance to women, I think. Call it patriarchy perhaps, or chivalry. I prefer chivalry. But yeah. I'm just wondering if I should wipe my wipers. I'm gonna clean my wiper blades so that they're not all iced up here. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Yeah, it is, oh yeah.
Well, hello. It snuck up on us again, Vanessa.
Pardon?
It snuck up on us again.
I know, oh my gosh. I heard the roads are not the greatest.
No, we'll be careful though.
Yeah.
Vanessa,
Thanks
my
for
name
waiting.
is Biniam. You're welcome.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Are we flying domestic or international this morning?
Domestic.
Awesome.
With, WestJet.
With WestJet. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Vanessa, I want to give you a heads up as well too. Something unusual I do in my Ubers, I like to live stream.
Okay.
And so I just want to give you a heads up so you don't share with me like your bank account number or whatever that may be incriminating or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the heads up.
My pleasure. Are you off on work or pleasure?
Pleasure. I'm
Oh,
actually,
amazing.
yeah, me and my girlfriend were gonna go to Toronto for Taylor Swift.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is this her last concert?
No, Vancouver is.
Vancouver, right? Okay. So,
Yeah.
one more stop for her still.
So in December she'll end it, but yeah, I got very lucky with tickets and
Amazing. With your
Yeah.
friend as well.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What percentage do you think of her audience are men who are fans?
Ooh.
I just thought of that now, like
10%.
10%. And do you think there's a stigma there? You'd like to think there isn't, right? You'd like to think there isn't, like people just being who they are and enjoying what they enjoy. But yeah.
But it's interesting because it's, I think to be like a Swiftie per se,
Yeah.
you probably are only looking at like 10%, but I would say like people who actually like her music that are men is probably more than that.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Like I feel like everybody, not everybody, but
most
people like a couple songs of hers.
Okay.
And I feel like you can't deny that she's just an incredible artist.
So this is where I'm going to share my ignorance.
Yeah.
I, for example, my friends invite me all the time to dances.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, like probably 99% of the time, I have no idea who these DJs are, but they're super enthusiastic.
Yeah.
In a similar way, like when I watch movies. Now, I've come to know some well-known art actors for sure, but in general, I probably wouldn't recognize the name until I hear the movie and the part. They're like, oh, I know that person.
Yeah.
And same thing with songs. I'll hear a song and I'm just not familiar with who the singer is by name per se, as I am just with familiarity. So you're probably right on that one, where I would recognize this song before I recognize her as the artist, for example.
That's so funny. I am the exact same way as you.
Okay.
They're like, oh, do you know so and so who plays in this movie? And I'm like, no. I was like, I do not know names. Most of the time, I can usually do music, but with actors, it's like way over my head.
All right.
Yeah. What type of genre music do you listen to?
So what we're listening to right now, I love this. This is, I don't know. So what this maybe I like it for that reason too. But when I put in the parameters for what I wanted to listen to, so I use so that I can broadcast this on my platform. I go for royalty-free music.
Yeah.
And there's some services. So this is one of the ones I paid for. It has excellent selections and beautiful. So this is from there. And what I put in there was cinematic. So I love the cinematic genre. / I put piano in there because I love piano as well.
Yeah.
So I like this for like my thinking, my conversations, kind of like the background. I enjoy EDM as well. Oh, I love dancing to EDM. Oh my goodness, yes.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun.
Actually, I like dancing in general. I've never actually danced this. I was telling my kids last night, I want to dance to this stuff. Like, anyway, dancing is something that I've recently gotten into in the last couple of years, and I really enjoy it. Not anything choreographed or like, I don't even take dance lessons. I just like moving to music.
Yeah.
What else do I enjoy? I enjoy Celtic. I guess a variety. I enjoy pop as well. If it has words, I'm also really interested in knowing what the words are. That I'm also, as I'm listening to the music, and appreciating that. So with Taylor Swift, I know she's a big deal now. Just from what I hear, I'd love to understand why she's a big deal, because I don't know that part.
Yeah.
Like, what differentiates her from other artists? Is it the scale, or is it opportunity, economic moment that she was in? But like, she is a phenomenon from what I understand, right? I'm like, it's really interesting and intriguing, and I'm really intrigued by those dynamics that people find compelling. Because like, even like with my work that I do online, when I get recognized by people who watch my work, oftentimes they'll be like, I'm a fan of what you do. And this concept of fan, I've got thoughts on. I've got thoughts on. I really appreciate admiring people for what they bring to the table, right? But in my estimation, I usually like to make generous portions of allowance to remind myself, wait, this person that I really admire for whatever reason, I don't ever want to forget that they're human just like I am, and that they also, like, they're not anything more. So like, when I meet my fans per se, there's enthusiastic admiration and appreciation for the work, yes, which I admire, but then it's also, I feel there's also that element where it's like you're the next level up human, like you're superhuman, if you will. And that's the part that I don't find compelling, and that's where I sort of like try to tone it down, saying I'd like to connect with you on a personal level instead of a I'm here, you're here kind of thing. That doesn't feel as fulfilling as what it could be in essence. So when I see Taylor Swift or whoever else like just meteorically rise, I'm fascinated by that whole phenomenon.
You know, I am too. Like a lot of people who are fans, like people start crying when they see people, or like they get like stalker behaviors as well. And I don't understand that aspect of being a fan.
Here's what I perceive happening. The story that makes sense to me from my observation. Yeah. And that is, these individuals have impacted them so much in some specific way that hit home, that they appreciate, and there's an element where they're like, okay, you're the next next level. You're other than me. Like, I'm a messy, like, nobody in this plane. For example, when I talk to people and want to hear their stories, like, I got nothing to share. I'm just really ordinary. You should talk to someone who's far more influential, who's like, you know, got that pizzazz or whatever.
Yeah.
And my experience that I share with them is actually just like them. I think we each have unique blueprint vantage points on how we experience this world, and I'm so intrigued in yours. I think all of us have a story. It's just, do we have the permission to access those stories? One, you know, where someone feels safe sharing it, and to be able to be affirmed in it. So I don't see nobodies per se.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you're one of my favorite actors would be Denzel Washington.
Yep.
But if I were ever to meet Denzel Washington, I'd be like, hey, I really appreciate your skill, your ability, what you stand for, and I'd love to hear what life looks like from your vantage point as an equal to equal, not as a you're so much more advanced than I am kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And in so doing, I feel there's a gift granted there where I'm saying, I'm not ever going to expect from you superhuman humanity. That almost, I would say, robs you of your humanity. I'd rather see you still in that zone where when you goof up, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I knew you were like just like me, you know? And,
yeah.
And I want to make sure that I extend that same grace in essence, right?
Yeah. And I think that they appreciate that as well. Like being treated as a human and,
Sure.
and not...
other than, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can do no wrong. For example, a really great example that I thought of, that happened fairly, was it a year ago, 2 years ago? Was that incident where Chris Rock was slapped by Will Smith on stage doing some presentation or whatever. And I mean, it was unexpected. It was raw in the moments, you know. But Will Smith just got torn apart for that, right? And I mean, what he did wasn't cool.
Yeah.
But there was a human being who was just reacting in the moment, just like anyone else would. But the way I think he was ripped apart was an outcome of people saying, you're not allowed to have that expression.
Yeah.
You're not like, and in essence what happens when I hear that is, you're not allowed to be human, regardless of if you're goofing up in the moment, right? And there's just something gracious when we give ourselves permission to be messy, when we give ourselves that space to say, oh yeah, when I goof up in life, it's not that I'm worthless. Like, I was talking to one of my riders last night, one of the questions that we were exploring, we were talking about the difference between shame and guilt. And I was really helped in my understanding by this one writer, and the way she described the difference between shame and guilt, which sound like synonyms, like sound like the same thing. But she was saying shame says, I am bad, I am a mistake, I am worthless. Guilt says, I did bad, I did something awful, but it doesn't tie to me and my identity as a human being. And I thought that was a really powerful picture there, right? That's, I wonder what they don't get that courtesy of in their humanity.
I think it's just because there's such a global icon in that, like, fan base. For humans as a way of inspiration.
For sure.
So like actors and singers and anyone like influencers, like they're all influencing and like inspiring people.
Absolutely.
So to behave in a certain way, you can get ripped apart.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like it wasn't appropriate behavior for anybody, like regardless of who you are.
Miami's calling
But
it.
You are right, like it is a human behavior. Like he was standing up for his wife, which I think like most people would do.
Absolutely, it's understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by all means, be held accountable for it, but to be ripped apart where your sense of worth has been taken away.
Yeah. Because he got the consequences. Like he got consequence from what was it, the Golden Globe?
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Anyway, so like he's not allowed to go for like a couple of years, something like that.
Gotcha.
Like Chris Rock didn't charge him.
Yeah.
But like he got punished accordingly, but then to be punished by millions of other people online.
It's that cancel culture that says you're no longer relevant.
Yeah. That's interesting because I completely forgot that happened. And if I saw Will Smith, like I probably wouldn't have even
remembered or whatever.
Thought twice about it because it's
Well, that's the interesting part I think about our history. So even as once upon a time, my history, I was for many decades, I was under the perspective. I hope no one ever finds out my history because that's really shameful for me once upon a time. But having had a chance through therapy to process all that kind of stuff, now I'm actually, it's almost like I've made peace with my past, where I'm like, I'm not proud of the things I said or did, and there's so much there. But I'm able to like visit that and acknowledge that it happened. I'm able to talk about it without that accompanying presence that once was of shame, for example. So I really, really value that. And now actually it's become, I would almost say it's almost become one of my superpowers, where I'm no longer bound in that zone of like being muted or fearful that this is going to affect. Like in essence, I would say that's, I mean, painful as it was, and as I reflect on it, I'm just so grateful that in reflecting on it, there's a different way I'm approaching it now, saying, I see where I once was, I understand what was going on there, I'm so grateful I'm not there anymore, and I'm very grateful I can talk about this without feeling that sense that one said, you're of no use. And so in the same way, like, yeah, like our histories, you've probably heard of revisionist historians who just rewrite history in a way that, you know, suits them. I would say it's more helpful when we get the opportunity to not be revisionist historians in reference to our past, but to actually say, hey, here's the real story about where I once was, but here's how I'm progressing to where I want to be, you know. There's something really beautiful and empowering. So even in relation to Will, like if I were ever to sit down, it's not that I'd, you know, bring that up to pain him or whatever, but if he or anyone in that space is still kind of like, I'm still struggling with this, for example, I'd be like, honestly, I can relate to how it binds you and sort of shuts you down, but there's other options where you can actually get away from that power that keeps you down to experience something far more redeeming. I love the idea of redemption and humanity, and so yeah, he's not worthless in my eyes, you know. It's more like, I saw you in your humanity. But that doesn't define you.
And like redemption in yourself too, obviously, like you go in therapy and like coming to terms with your past and like growing from it and learning from it, and it doesn't identify who you are, but it's like shaped who you become.
Agreed.
That's what's really great about getting older.
I know.
It's like after your 30s, I don't know how old you are, but I feel like after my 30s, you like gain this sense of understanding who you are and your past, and even like understanding like why people did the things they did, and like forgiveness, and then like finding your voice too. Like before I was like non-confrontational. I'm still not confrontational, but like I can find my voice when I need to find my voice in conversations. After 30s, I found like I was like, okay, this is like who I am.
Yes, I agree with you. I'm in my mid 40s, and I'm very grateful for like. So, I've come to learn perceptually I seem like much younger. So I have like 20-year-olds in my vehicle oftentimes, and they think I'm one of them. They think I'm one of them.
I was like, you. Whatever you're doing, like give me your
I don't have much to offer, honestly. I would divulge because I'm just that personality. No, but all that to say, when they are saying, "My goodness, like you seem so wise and so accomplished and so confident," and I appreciate the moment with them to say, in reality, I may seem this right now, but what you're seeing now was actually. It came at a really high price for me. It was too expensive in my perspective. I hurt too many people to get here. I made some significant face flops and fumbles in my experience, and in so doing, I mean, I guess I just got to the point where I was like, I don't want to learn this lesson again. What do I have to do to progress. And like you were saying, it's that experience. Like the experience is what I was lacking for the longest time. Experience through not the good seasons, because I heard this one person say one time, he's never seen people grow as individuals in the good seasons of life when you're coasting. It's usually during the most traumatic, it's usually during the most challenging times when you have no idea what the right answer is per se, when you don't when you don't know where your next step is going to be and how whatever is going to be resolved. It's in those crunch moments that oftentimes we experience that opportunity for progression and becoming stronger, more resilient, more inspired to sort of like navigate. And then when we look back, we're like, I wouldn't have chosen that, but I'm glad I went through it.
Yeah.
So I can relate with what you're saying. It seems like, as we get older, I would say I feel I know myself far more now. I know I have greater confidence, but that just came because I had to walk through a lot of insecurity in the past, right? And so like when I see these young people, like teens and 20-year-olds that I get to interact and connect with, and I'm really grateful I still have that access point with them. I'm excited for, like, on the one hand, I just want them to feel, hey, welcome to the big kids table.
Yeah.
I'm taking you at value that you are someone who's able to have insights and perspectives that are worthwhile listening to, and questions, and like you're an equal per se on this playing field. While at the same time, I also pose to them, there's still going to be so much more challenges you're going to go through in your 20s here. You're just in the midst of love right now. Amazing. I'm so glad for your excitement and so on. But just so you know, there's also going to be pain and tears along the way too, and generous doses of it.
Yeah, I have a little girl, and I'm pregnant right now. And
no way!
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, carry on.
And,
how old is your little girl, by the way?
She's just over 2.5.
Young family. Okay, carry on.
But thinking about those stages of life for like your kids, like I don't know if you feel this too, but it like, I know that it's like a part of life, and I know that they need to experience, and we've all like experienced it, but it like pains me to know that like she's gonna go through that, and then like there's nothing you can really do except be there for them and support them and let them go through their own walk of life. But like bullies, like I'm so worried about like young kids, like elementary school and middle schools, because some of them are assholes.
I hear you. And my one friend, she's living in the basement of a young family. She thought it was one of the, like, I helped her find this place, and she was so ecstatic. She's like, just the right price point, just nice space. But in a month, she's discovered the dynamics of the young family upstairs, where their son, who's probably like 4 or 5 years old, he's just he's a nightmare. He jumps and pounds on the floor, and she's just at the point where she's like, I'm gonna have to leave now because this is not livable. And she's trying to communicate with them, saying, hey, how can I help? How can I? But they don't have that capacity to bring their child up with expectations of here's what it looks like in the real world when you have to respond to a story. It's just more like free reign, you know. And so I told her, honestly, like, unfortunately for this young kid, he's gonna have a lot more challenges in life when his parents don't step in the way they ought to right now. And they're also gonna have a lot of challenges because they probably think it's easy right now just to put things off, but in reality, they just can't do that indefinitely. And so, yeah, I was thinking about the landscape. I've worked with kids for decades. It can be confusing, absolutely, especially even as they approach teens too, but even in the younger years, when there's just those formative experiences that kind of lock in how they perceive the world and engage and take up space in the world, right?
And it is like largely shaped, like every human has their own personality, but a lot of that personality can be shaped and molded by your surroundings and, like, you know, people that are around you and teaching you these learned skills throughout life. So yeah, if you're not teaching kids boundaries and like appropriate behavior and love, like that's another big thing. Is I feel like my generation, especially, like an easy way out, and so that's where all these like iPads, like cell phone kits are coming in, where it's just an easy out rather than like my daughter, she has temper tantrums.
Yeah.
All toddlers do.
Yeah.
All kids do.
Yeah.
But if like I can usually calm her down within like 2 minutes by just like validating her, being there for her, giving her some love, while still sticking with a boundary of like, no, you don't get the chocolate before dinner or whatever it is. Or like she knows that like she doesn't get, we call them tuners, but like she doesn't get TV until it's right before bedtime. Which is like another cardinal sin you're not supposed to do, but that's like the only time that she gets in, that's like her little wind down.
Yep.
But parents just like don't want to deal with that. Or like even in grocery stores, like I try and get my daughter like involved in looking at like what we're buying and getting her to like interact with that experience. And when you see like, yeah, like kids that are younger than her just like have their cell phones watching whatever it may be, and it's just an easy way out where they don't need to like deal with anything.
Here's the part about that though. I think I understand people choosing the easy ways, like water takes the path of least resistance.
Yep.
And I get that. Like when you have the easy option, you'll go for that. But I wonder, and I think perhaps what is the challenging factor, none of us got the manual on parenting really well. We're fumbling our way through it for sure. And secondly, on top of that, where were the models that could help inspire what could be? Where were the insights, extended? That's, if you choose the easy path here, here's the hard path that's going to follow. If you use a hard path here, here's how you can pave the way for an easier path, right? So I get like the easy path that most choose, and I see the consequences, and that's when we just kind of sit back and say, oh, you feel sad, because I mean you can't say much unless you're invited into that space or they're seeking it or whatever, right? But I do get it. Like I have 3 kids myself.
How old are they?
Mine are 13, 11, and 10.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're approaching a different season now together. My ex and I, we've been divorced a year now, separated for about 6 or 7 years. No, 6 years. Yeah. And but like, I mean, she's just one of the most amazing people still in my life that I really highly esteem. But I've been taking, like, I hang out with the kids usually on the weekends collectively, but I do like individual sort of date nights with them through the week. Like,
I love that. It's so special.
It's my way of just saying, how can I still get to know you on this level? And so last night it was with my eldest, the 13-year-old, and I got a really neat gift where she was able to articulate to me saying, here's sort of a little piece of my here's my struggle when you guys separated. Here's how I was angry at you for a long time when this happened, for example. Here's what I had to go through to get to a point where I could forgive you and let you know. It was just like one of those really neat things. And you were reminding me of that when you were mentioning how, like, when we think about our kids and we're like, oh, there's going to be pain in their life as well too, and that kind of kills us. We're like, oh, which we can't protect them from per se.
Yeah.
But just like, again, what you were saying earlier, being available and present as they navigate and develop and take on like what their perspective of the world is and how they're gonna walk into it, and the kind of alliance we can form or forge in the midst of the journey, because ultimately it seems to me like our mandate with these beautiful souls is to prepare them for independence, where they are able to make their own calls, where they are able to navigate and develop those healthy ways of coping, because life is a struggle. We're bringing them into a struggle. We wish them the best we could offer. However, there's only so much we can go in that promise, I think.
Yeah, it's and I think as like a parent too, you can't sacrifice your life to protect your kids either, in regards to like getting a divorce. Like, yes, you know that would cause like pain. It's also causing you pain and everybody involved. Like my parents parents got divorced as well. And it was like I had a really hard time with it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another thing. Like kids are resilient.
Mm-hmm.
Learn from it.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, part of it was also making peace with the journey that they're going to have to navigate. I mean, if I had the option, I would love to go and say, let me just wipe away all the pain here if I could.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have that. And just like you were saying with your daughter, when she had her temper tantrums, you were sitting, like you still were following through on the consequences of whatever had to happen, but you were just saying, I'm present with you at this moment, in essence, you know, and yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. And yeah, there's no handbook on parenting, that's for sure.
Nope.
No. But I think that there's a lot of disconnect
I've
as
seen
well
that.
with like parents and their kids. But I do think that social media is coming around with helping that and like
How so?
well, I don't know, like just on, I don't know, like I just scroll on TikTok.
Yeah.
And it's like come into my algorithm, like parents.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
because that's,
Helpful resources
yes, exactly.
that build you up.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so like sometimes you'll see like situations where you'll have like a child psychologist like talking you through
Yeah.
like how
Brilliant,
to
right?
do
Brilliant.
this. Yeah,
I
and, like,
love it.
yeah, like
Yeah.
giving examples and
Just making it more accessible.
yeah, and I think also this mentality of just like trusting your instinct as a parent rather than like going off of what societal norms used to be. Like there's a bunch of old traditional ways of parenting and raising kids that go against every single like mother instinct that I have. And when I like was raised, like when I first had my first daughter, I was like, this doesn't feel right. And I had the confidence in myself to be like, I'm just going to trust my instinct. And then I also had the confidence to have a voice to back up why I was doing the things that I was doing.
Sure.
To be like, the way that you want me to parent goes against everything that I stand for as a parent and my reaction to my kid. And I mean, like, yeah, it doesn't make people happy, but I definitely, I don't know, I feel like I'm doing a good job.
Interestingly enough, here's what I'm going to celebrate two things here. Number one, and I do this whenever I see a mom, especially a young mom, who's maybe on a night out on ladies' night, just with her friends, minus her babies. And I celebrate that because I acknowledge how difficult, especially for young moms, that is. Especially when you have young kids. In my observation, most have challenges walking away from those responsibilities. They're like, I need to be here. So when they get a chance to take downtime for themselves, I'm like, yay. So in the same sense, kudos for like actually going on a trip with your friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is epic, I think. And secondly, for me and my gender, us fathers specifically, oftentimes we're the ones that are going into work, and we work hard for sure to try to provide for our families, etc.
Yeah.
And yet at work we get a lot of kudos. Like, and I love my job. I get so much feedback from those that get to spend time with about how amazing I'm doing at my job. And all my other jobs, I've gotten that, you know, sort of feedback and encouragement and social aspect and just so many things that make the job a little easier, even though it may be strenuous and hard. I think about moms who are staying at home with the kids and looking after that capacity, especially like single moms too. But moms who are covering the home base, and I think about those that they're working with, the kids. It won't be, it's probably 2 decades away before they'll ever get that kudos, that acknowledgement. You know, they're the ones who are doing a lot in ways that isn't acknowledged, from the laundry to the cleaning to the feeding to the like just all these things, and yet like plowing in. And so I often look for opportunities just to remind the men, saying, don't forget to take note of what's going on here, and putting into that tank of like acknowledgement, because there's real stuff going on there, and real need for that encouragement in the midst of applying oneself that way.
I appreciate that. It is interesting. Like when I became a mom, I have a good mom. My mom, like, she's had a life and a half.
Okay.
And
she sounds like an inspiration in your...
Yeah, she really is. I always knew she was a good mom. I always knew she sacrificed a lot for us.
Quick pause, sorry. Did you say WestJet?
Yes.
Thank you. Carry on. So she's always a nice mom.
Yeah, but then when I became a mom, it like hit me extra hard to be like, wow, I get it now. Like I knew that, like through reading her diary, like such an invasive thing to do as a child.
Is she alive still?
Pardon?
She's alive still?
She is, yeah.
Okay, but you had a chance to read her diary as a kid.
Yeah,
okay.
and like she grew up as a single mom who did not have a lot of money growing up, and so she would be hungry all the time because she wanted to make sure that her kids were fed. And now that I'm a mom, I'm like, I get it. Like I would give my kids everything on my plate to make sure that their stomachs are full, and there's other struggles that she had.
Sure.
But I remember like we went out for dinner and I like really thanked her to be like, I always knew you were a good mom, but I can extra appreciate the things now. But like you said, it took me a couple decades to fully
comprehend.
Be like, thank you.
Like in a meaningful way that says, I see you.
Yeah, I see you, and I see the struggles that you went through and the sacrifices, and
that's powerful.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. I hear it.
Yeah. This is the best Uber conversation I've ever had. Usually I just sit here on my phone.
Thank you for being willing. For me, I know what you're walking into. I know what to expect.
Sure, yeah.
Actually, no, I don't know what to expect. Even on the live stream I was saying beforehand, I was like, honestly, I'm very aware. I feel like I have a sensitivity for, in the first few seconds, just reading what a person has on offer. Sometimes they just get in and they give the clear feedback that they just want a quiet ride, which I'm more than happy to accommodate. But if there's openness, then I'm thrilled to enjoy those moments. And probably my skill set is just, I don't have small talk. I don't do small talk.
You want to get to the nitty gritty stuff.
I do, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to grab your bag here, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Wasn't that amazing? Again, I keep saying that, like, oh, it was so good. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next round. Because I gotta hustle off to my next pickup, which I have to get to in 20 minutes. I think I have time, yes. Let's do it. I'll see you guys soon.